Once you've figured out whether you need bit depth and sample rate reduction, also dither, you're ready to figure out which method to use to create your deliverables. Before we do any sort of deliverable, it's a good idea to make a selection of your song here from beginning to end. The first choice is something called bounce to disk. So you go to File, Bounce to Disk. The advantage to bounce to disk, it allows you to change the file type, the format, the bit depth, also the sample rate if you want. You can add it to your iTunes library. You can import it into your session sometimes, but the key point is not always. This depends on whether you change the sample rate. What bounce to disk does is it combines all your files and it prints it directly to your hard drive, which is what allows it to have this flexibility. So as long as you had a selection highlighted, all you would have to do is name it the way you wanted it, check whether you wanted to do this online or offline, and then just hit the bounce button. If you did it online, it would actually play it in real time and you'd get to hear what it sounded like. Another choice is to do an internal layback. So the idea with this is you would take all of the outputs and send them to an internal bus, like maybe a master submix, and then take the output of that and send it to a new track and call this print master maybe the song title. So you still need to highlight an area here. On the master submix track, it's a good idea to solo isolate this. You do that by command clicking the solo button. And then on your print master track, you would have to arm the track, and you probably want to also solo isolate this and put it into input. So you'll always hear the throughput. And then just go through your normal protocols for making a recording. Let me mute my speakers. The problem with this type of bounce, it always happens in real time, and it's always going to be the bit depth and the sample rate of the parent file. So with this, you can't change the sample rate, you can't change the file type, you can't dither it down. There wouldn't be any point to dithering it down because you aren't changing the bit depth. Another choice you have on this submix that you've created, this aux send, you're going to have to select all the tracks you want and then commit. Make it be edit selection, consolidate clips, volume and mute, pan. You don't need to copy the sends and the group assignments. This also doesn't change sample rate because it's staying in the session, so you can't dither it. What you can do is bring it into your session, and what it does is it creates a new track out of it, and then it hides the old track and makes it inactive by default. So it's not a destructive process. And voila, there is your bounce. Committing is just a way to render tracks internally. The other choice you have is you could send it to an output to an external device. The good thing about that, it would go through your final master. It would have all the processing that's on your master track, and it would allow you to dither it down. So that's it. Those are your choices for deliverables on your final mix.